Hey Deckers, Sword Art Online Last Recollection is now available on Steam, and a huge thanks to Bandai Namco for sending us this over so we could test it out on the Steam Deck. Officially, there is no Steam Deck compatibility for this one, but we'll be saying that this one will get a verified status very soon as it's running perfectly out of the box. And it's a mostly single player with some online co-op abilities. No need for any compatibility options on this, running the latest Proton 804. And it is absolutely flawless. Now, out of the box, it does run low settings, although you're not going to notice a huge amount of difference if you increase those settings. I'll show you just what I'm running here in a second, but running with medium settings, you can see that it's running pretty much a perfect 60 frames per second, even with all of the effects going off as well. But it does still run quite hot. Now, during a lot of the cutscenes, it does dip down into the 30s and 40s quite often, but you are going to be sitting in the high 80s and around the 90 degrees with full fan for a lot of the game. Now, when you're running around in some of the open world sections, it does drop down somewhat, but during all of the battles, it does stick up quite high at pretty much full fans. So on medium settings here with 4x anisotropic filtering, medium on overall graphics with high on anti-aliasing, depth of field and VSync on, it does look absolutely superb on the Steam Deck. This game has so many visuals in it, even with the small fights with just little effects. Going into some of the bigger fights in a minute, you'll see that there are so many effects that go off. This holding a perfect 60 frames per second through all of that really is impressive. There is a lot to learn about this game. There are so many different moves and counter moves, but there is also a lot of dialogue. Unfortunately, some of the translations aren't the best, and it does seem to ruin a little bit of the immersion for me, as that loss in translation from Japanese really does show in some of the translation texts, and there does seem to be a long pause between some of those texts sometimes as well, so I'm not sure if you can speed up those subtitles a bit, but skipping through them quite quickly, that does still sometimes cause a delay. And there are some huge skills that you can even team up with all 4 of your allies to make your ally skill, and these do look absolutely phenomenal. And once again, with all of these effects going off, we're still getting a pretty solid 60. Very minor dips there into around 58, but I think that's just some of the loading sequences, and you're never really going to notice it if you actually turned off the FPS overlay. Power wise though, it does stick at the 25 to 28 watt range depending on the environment around you and what battles you're in the middle of. So you're going to max out around about an hour and a half to around 2 hours gameplay at the absolute max here, with around an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes guaranteed. I'll leave you with a bit more of the battle here so you can see the effects and gameplay without me talking, but overall this is running absolutely superbly on the Steam Deck, and if you've played the previous Sword Art Online Collection series, then you are going to be loving this one. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.